Good morning. My name is Nicole Daly, and I'm Assistant to the City Manager for the City of Lake Elsinore. First, I want to thank all of you for being here with us today, and to thank all of those that are watching online. As we are all well aware, the local super bloom has captured the attention of visitors from around the world. We continue to look for ways to reduce the impact of this event. The purpose of today's press conference is to share our unified approach, including encouraging our residents to support our efforts by avoiding the area if possible, while also informing our visitors of how they can safely view and experience this natural event. Before we get started, I would like to announce today's speakers and other key dignitaries that are with us today that will be available for questions after the press conference. I would like to ask that any questions from the media be relayed at the end of the press conference as well. I want to thank each of our agencies and their representatives for their partnership and support. Today you will hear from the following individuals: Michael Lujan, Police Chief for the City of Lake Elsinore from Riverside County Sheriff's Department; John Tyler, Riverside CHP Area Commander and Captain from California Highway Patrol; Steve Manos, Mayor for the City of Lake Elsinore; Dustin Mclean, Chief of Parks and Resources for the Riverside County Regional Park and Open Space District; Catalino Pinning, Deputy District Director of Operations from Caltrans; and Juan Perez, Assistant CEO, TLMA Director from County of Riverside Transportation and Land Management. In addition, other dignitaries with us today include Jeff Green, Chief of Staff for District 1 Riverside County Supervisor Kevin Jeffries; Councilmember Robert McGee; Councilmember Natasha Johnson; Councilmember Timothy Sheridan. We also have John Staniford, Deputy Executive Director from the Riverside County Transportation Commission; Lonnie Olson, Battalion Chief from CAL FIRE and Riverside County Fire Department; Fernando Herrera, Fire Captain, CAL FIRE and Riverside County Fire Department; Shane Reichart, Senior Public Information Specialist with the Emergency Management Department. So again, we ask that your questions wait until the very end, and we'd like to get started with our Police Chief, Michael Lujan.
Thank you, Nicole. Good morning. I'm Michael Lujan, Police Chief for the City of Lake Elsinore. We are grateful to have you supporting and spreading the awareness about this critical public safety event. This week, Jason Daly with the Smithsonian wrote, "Cities face all kinds of natural disasters: floods, droughts, windstorms, and earthquakes. But the City of Lake Elsinore in Southern California is experiencing something less expected: a dangerous outbreak of flowers." This statement captures the complexity of what our city, law enforcement and residents, Riverside County, visitors and commuters have faced since the start of the super bloom. This has been a crisis never experienced before, unlike anything we have faced in Lake Elsinore. As the crowds have increased, so have the needs for public safety risks associated with the super bloom. This week, the city, Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, Caltrans, CAL FIRE, Riverside County Emergency Management Department joined forces to create a unified approach to manage this event moving forward. This plan involves support and resources from all partnering agencies and focuses on public safety. This weekend, the Lake Elsinore Sheriff's Station will be deploying up to 40 deputies focused on traffic control and enforcement. We will officially kick off our weekend effort starting at 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. both Saturday and Sunday. Road closures will be limited to resident-only routes will be provided via Temescal Canyon Road, Lake Street, and Nichols Road, as shown on the map displayed. Temescal Canyon Road from Indian Truck Trail will be open to Lake Elsinore and Horse Thief Canyon residents only. No visitors and no access will be allowed to the poppies. Full hard closures will be in place on all off-ramps at Lake Street. However, this may change if the need arises to provide relief to other off-ramps along Interstate 15. On the weekends, all visitors to the Super Bloom will be required to take the shuttle services to Walker Canyon. There will be no available parking on Walker Canyon or Lake Street. There will be no parking for pedestrians to walk along Lake Street or Walker Canyon. The only way to access Walker Canyon will be via shuttle service. Shuttle service this weekend is expected to begin at 6:30 a.m. with the last shuttle going to Walker Canyon at 5 p.m. and the last shuttle returning to the staging area or parking areas at 7 p.m. No dogs or animals will be allowed on the shuttles, so visitors who plan on bringing animals are encouraged to come during the weekdays. Shuttle rides will cost $10 per person for anyone over the age of 3. 2 shuttle parking areas have been established. If you are traveling northbound on Interstate 15, we encourage visitors to exit Nichols Road, turn right into an adjacent dirt lot designated for popular parking. If we have visitors traveling southbound on Interstate 15, visitors will make a right and park at the Lake Elsinore Prime outlets. Those 2 locations will provide shuttle services. We ask our visitors to be patient as we try to balance the needs of our community and those of you coming to visit our beautiful hillsides. Today, each of our partnering agencies will share their plan of action and how they will be supporting our efforts. I would like to encourage and urge our residents to heed our warnings and avoid the areas impacted as much as possible. Please use alternative routes. If we find we cannot adequately enforce and protect those coming to or living in our community, we will adjust our plans as necessary. This could include road closures throughout the day or any other enforcement action required to ensure public safety. During the weekdays, Walker Canyon Road will be open and the White Rock parking lot will be open, weather permitting, for visitors. In addition, we will be allocating law enforcement resources for traffic management and public safety during the weekdays. While no road closures are planned on the weekdays, if congestion becomes unbearable, Lake Street may experience some intermittent closing to include the Lake Street off-ramps. Once again, we ask our visitors to be respectful of our community by following the law, and we thank our residents for their support in our efforts and showing kindness to those visiting our community, and to the men and women who are working hard, extremely hard, to try to keep traffic moving and our community safe. On behalf of our City Manager, Grant Yates, the Lake Elsinore City Council, city staff, our partnering agencies, our residents, and Sheriff Chad Bianco, I would like to express my deepest appreciation for the assistance and cooperation during this time. Thank you.
Next, we'll welcome John Tyler, Riverside CHP Area Commander and Captain for California Highway Patrol.
Good morning. My name is John Tyler. I'm the commander of the Riverside CHP office. I'm going to discuss how CHP is dealing with the increased traffic as a result of this poppy flower super bloom. The mission of the California Highway Patrol is to provide the highest level of safety, service, and security. We are working closely with all of our partners to include Caltrans, Riverside County Sheriff's Department, the Riverside County Department of Transportation, and the City of Lake Elsinore, and many other stakeholders. Traffic is our #1 priority, and we are asking for the public's patience when traveling on Interstate 15 through the area of Temesco Valley in the City of Lake Elsinore. So please allow for extra time when you're heading to your destination. This event has brought about a significant amount of vehicular traffic, as everyone's seen, and it impacts motorists that are trying to reach the poppy flowers, motorists who normally travel through this area, and also the local residents. Additional CHP units will be deployed this weekend to provide traffic control, and it's our goal to keep traffic moving safely and efficiently. I would like to remind the public that it is illegal to stop and park on the freeway to look at these flowers. It's illegal to stop and park and get out of your car and start walking around. It's very dangerous. So please go to the designated areas where you're allowed to park, and then from there take the appropriate shuttles. As stated earlier, Lake Street off-ramp, on-ramps will be closed. We will have CHP officers doing traffic control at those locations. The CHP Inland Division Communication Center has seen an increase in 911 calls from folks that are traveling through the area when they're experiencing heavy traffic. So we'd like to remind the public to use 911 when you actually have an emergency. So if you're just in heavy traffic, it's just going to take you a little longer than normal. but we would ask that you just reuse the 911 when you actually have an emergency or you see an emergency. Again, the CHP is committed to traffic safety and the well-being of the motoring public, and we'll continue working closely with all of our partners and allied agencies. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to welcome our mayor, Steve Manos.
Good morning. My name is Steve Manos, mayor for the city of Lake Elsinore. I want to thank all of you for coming out to our beautiful city here in Lake Elsinore. As a resident for more than 30 years, I grew up here, and I can tell you that this natural worldwide phenomenon is unlike anything that any of us have ever seen here before. I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you to our residents for enduring the last few weeks. Thank you to our staff for working day and night. And to thank each of you resource agencies behind me here today for jumping in to assist us in our time of need. I also want to thank our private partners. It's important to go ahead and thank the outlet centers at Lake Elsinore for providing parking, and YROC for providing parking, and Strider Transportation for their eagerness to help. While the super bloom has created significant challenges for our community, it has shown the world the natural beauty of Lake Elsinore. And yet, the last few weeks have been unbearable for our residents. And I know that firsthand that city staff and law enforcement have struggled to manage this unexpected natural event. We could have never anticipated the crowds. The Chargers probably would have been happy to see those types of crowds at their games. And I say that lovingly as a Bolts fan. I have personally read and listened to thousands of ideas and complaints. And I assure you that I have heard your concerns, and we are committed to exploring every option. I want to thank our residents for their understanding and support as we continue to improve and find more ways to reduce the impacts on you. While many have suggested that we simply shut down on Sunday, we recognized firsthand that this was not an option as people walked miles away on the freeways and crossed barricades and fences to see the poppies. We do not have the resources or the supplies to prevent people from visiting this open, public space. Excuse me. This is a social media viral event that is attracting tens of thousands of visitors to our city. In talking to visitors, all have expressed their appreciation for the opportunity to see and take part in what could be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And while some may disagree, the city has remained focused on putting our residents and public safety first. We have had our challenges, and in ways we have succeeded, and others we have failed. But we are learning how to manage this situation, and one that we could have never predicted, and this will provide the blueprint for future generations to deal with similar events. Today, I'm grateful to be surrounded by each of our supporting resource agencies who have joined us to develop a coordinated approach that we think will reduce the impacts on our residents and still provide visitors an opportunity to experience this amazing natural display. This weekend, we have designated routes for our residents, and that our residents support all of us by joining us as our partners and by listening to the warnings. Specifically, we ask that you choose your alternative routes whenever possible to help ease the congestion and ensure that we can keep these other routes open for those who truly need them. As occurs with any emergency, we must remain flexible. And if we see any of these roads getting too congested, we will be forced to shut down the program again. Together, we can make this a much more manageable experience. So again, I encourage residents and commuters coming through Lake Elsinore to give themselves extra time and take other roadways whenever possible. We are not going to completely eliminate the burden on our city. I foresee that we will still face challenges and congestion this weekend, but expect to continue to evaluate and improve our plan of attack over the next coming weeks. And while the hope is to make them bearable, these plans are something that can be shared with others and implemented for years to come. As we reflect on the last year, it has been an extremely challenging time for our community as we have suffered through fire, floods, and now flowers. We've been using the F word a lot more, or F words more commonly lately, right? So on behalf of the City Council, we would like to once again thank our residents, resource agencies, business community, visitors, the media, staff, and so many more for your cooperation and support for our city over the last 7 months. You have shown that together we are stronger. Thank you.
Now, Dustin Mclean, Chief of Parks and Resources from the County Riverside Parks Department.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me. First and foremost, I just wanted to just exude the excitement that we're having about having the wildflower blooms. It doesn't happen all too often, so we're very grateful for it. I think a wildflower bloom of this magnitude hasn't been seen in a long time. And I know we had one in 2017, but the last one before that was 2010. So we're excited it's here. Ultimately, the Parks District is tasked with overseeing the conservation area where most of these people are recreating. We're also in charge of taking care of the public and maintaining a public safety standard within the conservation areas. I'd just like to thank those that have used the conservation areas to recreate. Roughly 98% or the vast majority of them have used the area with a lot of ethics and remained on trail, and that's the way that we're going to keep this area open. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank staff that have worked out there diligently and steadfast the last 3 weeks. They've sacrificed a lot of personal time and family time to get ahead and maintain the conservation objectives, and then to also maintain a level of public safety that is required when you get 10 to 15,000 people out there on the weekend. So just some words of advice. We just wanted to remind the visitors to stay on the trails, to bring water, to wear sturdy shoes. The use of drones is not permitted, as much as we understand that picture's great. Having 20 drones above 10,000 people is probably not the best thing for safety. And also know your own physical limitations. We're getting a lot of people that are succumbing to the elements and needing help from exposures. Our rangers, maintenance workers, and specialists are treating everything from bee bites to broken ankles to even rattlesnake bites in some cases. And just be prepared and be ready to make the venture back. So 2 miles in is 2 miles out. And 2 miles downhill in sandals is not fun, and we've experienced that over and over. So we appreciate your interest in our conservation areas. We appreciate your interest in Lake Elsinore's wildflowers. There are other areas in the county that have wildflowers with less traffic and more parking. You could find out more of that information on our website, rivcoparks.org, and we appreciate it. Be prepared out there. Remain diligent, and happy trails. Thank you.
Now, Catalino Pinning, Deputy District Director of Operations for Caltrans.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Catalino Pinning. I'm the Deputy District Director for Traffic Operations for Caltrans. Caltrans is here today to support and partner with all agencies to keep traveling public safe during the Super Bloom episode over the next few weeks. As you know, there have been some very significant traffic delays due to motorists parking on the ramps at Lake Street and sometimes even on I-15 to view the Super Bloom. Please be advised that this is an extreme hazard to the traveling public, and it is illegal. Caltrans' #1 priority is the safety of the traveling public and the safety of the agency staff that are working on the roadways during the traffic impacts. There is a joint plan between Caltrans, CHP, County of Riverside, Riverside County Sheriffs, City of Lake Elsinore to keep traffic moving on I-15 and also on the local street as best as we can to keep motorists informed if they plan to use the 15 through Lake Elsinore. Caltrans will provide overhead changeable message signage on State Route 91 and I-15 to advise motorists of the event traffic conditions. We are also working with CHP to close the Lake Street off-ramp in both directions of I-15 on Saturday and Sunday from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and when necessary. Intermittently during the week, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. until the Super Bloom subsides and is no longer causing traffic impacts. Given the situation is dynamic, these hours can change, so just be advised. Motorists who can avoid using I-15 between Corona and Lake Elsinore should do so to avoid significant traffic delays. Use alternate routes such as I-215 or perhaps State Route 74 from Orange County to avoid using this section on I-15 in Riverside County. We understand that this phenomena has not happened in a very long time, and that folks want to be able to enjoy the scenery. Caltrans is asking that you check traffic conditions before you go to the Super Bloom, and for those who are not attending, please avoid the area if possible. You can check traffic condition on Caltrans Quick Map and download the app on your phone. Caltrans thanks the public for their patience and cooperations in the coming weeks as we partner to keep you safe. We want people to come enjoy the Super Bloom and do so safely. Thank you.
Finally, Juan Perez, Assistant CEO, TLMA Director for the County of Riverside Transportation and Land Management.
Thank you, Nicole. Good morning, everyone. My name is Juan Perez. I'm an Assistant CEO, and I represent the county's Transportation and Land Management Agency. I want to join the comments from our other speakers and first of all urge all of our visitors and all of our local residents that are coming to this area that you do so in a safe manner. We please ask that all of our visitors be respectful of our local residents and treat the area as you would want to be treated if they were coming to visit your neighborhood. Be aware that we are expecting very large crowds, so you may be in for several hours of delays on both our freeways and surface roads coming into the area. Please be patient. We ask that you follow all of the traffic signage on the freeways and surface roads. As the other speakers have mentioned, there will be traffic control officers providing directions at key locations, and we ask for your cooperation, please, in adhering to that direction. We are urging visitors to use the Nichols Road interchange on I-15 as the most direct path to access the shuttle bus staging areas. Should any visitors or Lake Elsinore residents traveling south on I-15 exit at the Indian Truck Trail interchange, you will be directed to turn left at the off-ramp and then turn right onto Temescal Canyon Road to proceed south. Please be mindful that Temescal Canyon Road is only 2 lanes, and therefore we are expecting significant congestion on that road. Be aware that we have many local residents living in areas being impacted by large crowds. As such, we will be limiting access to several roads in the Temescal Valley area to local residents only. These include De Palma, beyond the last Vaughn's Shopping Center driveway by Indian Truck Trail. Visitors will still be able to access the parking lot for the Vaughn's Shopping Center and the stores within that center. We will also be limiting Horsethief Canyon Road, Hostetler Road, and Campbell Ranch Road to local residents only. We will have public safety officers at all of those locations staffing barricades, and we'll be checking for resident IDs or visitors going to those residences before letting traffic through. Please be especially careful and watch for pedestrians that may be near or crossing the road. We are blessed to be enjoying this natural wonder. We want this to be a good experience for all, so please respect the environment around you. We need your help to make this a safe experience for everyone. Please follow and respect all signs and directions from traffic officers. Be watchful, patient, and extra careful in your driving. Thank you, and thank you to all of our partners at the City of Lake Elsinore and other agencies, and I will turn it back to Nicole.
Thank you very much. Before we transition to your questions, I would just like to reiterate that as you have seen, the city and each of these agencies behind me is committed to doing what we can to address challenges related to this event, while also accommodating those seeking to come and experience the Super Bloom. We ask for everyone's patience and understanding. We have established plans for what we think will work, but I want to emphasize to the community and our visitors that based on the situation each day, we will remain flexible and additional road closures or steps will be taken to ensure the overall safety of our community as well as for those visitors. Following today's press conference, a full recording of today's event as well as the related exhibits and information will be posted online at www.lakeelsinore.org/superbloom. In addition, we will be distributing a digital file to all media contacts via email with an audio and video recording of today's event, as well as some B-roll footage of the Superbloom, drone footage of the Superbloom, and related materials. Each of you are welcome to contact me directly for any additional information. I would now like to ask all of you for your questions, and we will address them one at a time. Ma'am? Correct. There will only be shuttle service on the weekends. Weekday, you can still drive and park off of Lake Street in the Y-Rock parking lot or on Walker Canyon Road. But again, as mentioned, as we have seen on Monday and Tuesday of this week, if they become highly congested, based on the advice of the CHP as well as Caltrans, we may be required to shut those down.
Second question, sorry. What are the two locations for the shuttle service?
One is the east side of the freeway at Nichols Road. There's a dirt lot. Also on the other side is the outlets at Lake Elsinore. Yes, sir?
Can I ask just, last weekend, tell me about, do you have numbers on what kinds of things happen to people, injuries, that kind of stuff?
Is there anyone that would like to?
I can.
Go ahead.
There was a total of 8 incidents that occurred.
How many?
8 incidents that occurred. Sorry, Lonnie Olson, Battalion Chief for Lake Elsinore.
Okay.
8 incidents that occurred, and it was everything from environmental rolled ankles, snake bites, to some people getting outside of their health conditions and fainting, those kind of issues.
You have snake bites?
Yes.
How many?
1.
Okay.
Was that a rattlesnake, and was the person, how did the person?
I'm not sure we identified the snake.
The city said it was a rattlesnake, and Instagram post.
Initial report, yes.
And I mean, on that note, also the 911 calls, how many of those came in from people complaining about traffic?
I don't have an exact number, but I was contacted by the commander of that comm center who said they experienced a significant increase of people just stuck in traffic.
So they're dialing 911 saying, hey, I'm in traffic.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Can you say again, please, which roads will be open to residents only? And on one of these handouts, it has says southbound residents should exit at Indian Truck Trail. What about northbound?
So yes, the southbound resident route for Lake Elsinore residents will be Indian Truck Trail, but as mentioned, that will only be open to residents. No visitors will be allowed down there. Northbound will be Nichols Road if they're trying to get to the 15 freeway heading northbound. Now, anyone coming into the community from southbound, we'd encourage them to get off before Nichols Road, preferably Main Street, Railroad Canyon Road, or even towards Wildemar. In any instance it's possible, we'd like to encourage people heading southbound out of the area to use Grand Avenue, for example.
Okay, and which roads are open only to, will be open only to residents only?
Can you repeat those for yours?
I'll speak to the ones in the Temescal Valley area, and the city may want to add. In the Temescal Valley area, for residents only will be De Palma, south of the Vons Shopping Center, Horse Thief Canyon Road, Hostetler Road, and Campbell Ranch Road.
And Dawson Canyon Road.
Thank you. And Dawson Canyon Road as well. Thank you.
So again, for Lake Elsinore, I just want to reiterate, Lake Street will only be open from Temescal Canyon Road towards the city, the north end of the city. No traffic will be allowed up Lake Street towards the freeway. Residents will be able to go through Nichols Road towards Interstate 15. They will not be able to come down Nichols Road into the city. Nichols Road we are trying to reserve for visitors, so we'd highly encourage our residents to avoid that area if possible. Rob?
But if someone could help just characterize some of the issues that
Yeah, I'll let some others share. I know the mayor was there, but I will state that visitors overall have been very excited and grateful, and they've been pretty positive, even with the wait times. But I'll let our mayor share more for you.
Sunday started off much like Saturday, where everything seemed to be moving in the right direction. And as the day ground on and more visitors came to the area, the freeway gridlocked and began going and causing successive problems throughout the area. We had shuttle buses running from the outlet center, which we're repeating that and adding to that and augmenting that. We had to bring in additional shuttles in the interim while we realized that the throngs of crowds were untenable with the amount that we had reserved. And we, again, thanks to Strider Transportation for going ahead and accommodating us on the fly for that. As the day wore on, it began to get warmer. And the lines for the shuttles began to get longer. The wait times began to grow. And folks, in some instances, began to give up on the shuttles at all and began making a 3 to 3.5 mile walk down to the poppy fields. The folks that were a little older, or maybe had a little some conditions there, they had I was noticing there was folks fainting, potential heat exhaustion. We had EMT, several ambulances come through the public safety access roads. The crowds were getting thicker. There seemed to be some challenges with respect to some of the facilities that were in the area. And the gridlock nature of the traffic was creating frustration for a number of the people that were coming through the area. We had an incident the day before where there was a city employee who had actually been hit by a frustrated driver who went around a barricade and kind of clipped him on a hit and run basis. And we didn't want to repeat that. The safety of our staff and the law enforcement professionals were paramount in this particular instance, and you had a lot of people who were walking down these roads that were dedicated for these very large vans. So there were a number of issues that had arisen that had finally culminated where it was just a really good idea to go ahead and just shut the thing down for public safety reasons.
And you think these changes will help mitigate some?
Absolutely, because what we're doing is we're taking the cars off of the main focal point and we are bringing shuttle buses. And those shuttle buses can go ahead and hold up to 150 people. That's 75 to 125 cars that are off the road. We're providing quick access on both sides of the freeway for folks to go ahead and come out and get parked, get on shuttle buses, get out to the poppy fields, enjoy their experience, and then get back, go home. We will be flushing certain roads and streets as conditions exist that's necessary, and the primary goal is going to be reducing the number of friction points as well as the conflicts between residents and tourists. That's the goal.
Mayor?
Sure, go ahead.
The city slogan is "Dream Extreme." Have you ever dreamed anything this extreme?
Yes. As a matter of fact, our dreams are much bigger than this. We are a city that's pivoting towards tourism, and this is actually a great test for this city to see how it handles stresses caused by a high number of visitors. We have several developments happening throughout the city. The campground, sports complex that are happening in more developed areas that hopefully will handle the traffic better. But we do dream quite extreme here, and we're going to go ahead and that's why we're approaching this and we're trying to handle it.
Are you looking at any ways to turn this crisis into an opportunity for the city, having to monetize it?
Not necessarily to monetize, maybe in future years. Right now we're focused on the public safety aspect of it. That's our primary concern. Nobody's been hurt seriously so far, and we want to keep it that way.
And beyond that note, Mayor, 2 years ago we had a pretty sizable super bloom down here, and coming off the conditions of drought into an incredibly wet season here, there are some people who say that this kind of should have been expected, that there were going to be a lot of flowers, that there were going to be big crowds. What's different about this year versus 2 years ago?
2 years ago, the flower bloom wasn't nearly as large. We didn't call it a super bloom because it wasn't super. The crowds have been significantly higher The weekday crowds that we're getting maybe last week were roughly about the same as what we saw over the weekends in 2017. So there was no traffic planning, there was no additional parking, there was no additional flagged people, or we didn't need that. There was some minor slowing on the freeway as people were largely looking at the hill as they were driving by, but we weren't picked up internationally. We didn't go viral on social media accounts. We didn't have visitors coming from across the world, and that has changed the challenge significantly, and thus required us to ask for assistance.
Do you expect maybe a little bit of relief now that Antelope Valley is starting to get going and some other spots as well?
The real challenge is we don't know what to expect. So there's no pre-sale tickets on this thing. People are just coming out, right? So that's what we're trying to go ahead and get our arms around. And again, public safety being the main issue here, we want to make sure that we're prepared for anything. Yes?
You mentioned incident numbers. In regards to citations, whether it's for parking illegally or trespassing or walking through the flowers, do you have any numbers associated with that?
I don't have the numbers, but they're minimal at best. Once again, when you're inundated with the volume of vehicular and pedestrian traffic that we faced, our number one priority is to not to commingle the pedestrians and the vehicles for public safety, and to start moving vehicles along. Those who are illegally parked or double parked, we contact the driver or the occupants, told them to move along as a matter of safety. So when you look at the size of the visitors and the number of vehicles, issuing parking citation is probably a low priority as opposed to keeping the roadways open and making sure no one gets run over.
I'll just like to expand on one of the questions earlier from Rob. One of the key advantages that we think we have this weekend is all of the support from the agencies behind us. That's something we did not have last weekend, and I think that additional enforcement support, additional PD support will make a huge difference. Shane, I think you had a question.
The business community has been fairly unanimous in expressing their appreciation for the visitors that are coming out. Some have expressed kind of a sense of being overwhelmed themselves, restaurants specifically. I know one restaurant that I visited just during this week had to shut down for an hour to catch up with orders. They were running short of ingredients over the weekend. I know that there were some stores that reported having a lack of merchandise to go ahead and continue to sell, especially in the outlet center. So it has been very robust in terms of economic activity in the area.
Flower question.
Ahead.
What's the life cycle of these flowers? How long are we going to see them out there? And they're the state flower. Does they have any special protection?
Yes, I can't speak to the protection aspect of it because most of those protections are on state parks or national parks. So they are state flower. Obviously, we always strive for willing compliance. The life history cycle on these species are essentially they come out when conditions are right. So that's a combination of 8 inches or greater of water with the correct amount of soil temperature. They come out, they're pollinated, they produce seeds, and they replenish the seed bank within the soil. And so that's essentially it. And it could be anywhere from 2 years, as we've seen, to the past 7 years, and before that was probably another 10 years before it received the right amount of water with the correct soil temperatures for it to germinate. So these things are Mother Nature at its best, and we have very little control on the parameters of what makes these wildflowers grow.
Will they die when it gets really hot? Like, are they going to just go away in a couple weeks?
Yeah, so we're starting to see a downward trend here in the Elsinore Valley. They're starting to wither away, just like most of your perennials or annuals in your garden. The temperatures increase, the lack of moisture. They essentially just wither up and drop seed and wait for the next rainy cycle.
So if it gets hot, I mean, they could be gone within weeks, or what's?
It's a temperature dependent thing, so it's kind of hard to quantify it. But yeah, so it's on the downward trend. We would, talking to my biologists and botanists, they're thinking 2 to 3 weeks, and most of the blooms will have senesced enough to where it won't be as magnificent as it is now.
We're inviting the media.
We'll have to figure that out. We'll let you know where that area will be. I don't think we've had that conversation, so we'll discuss that amongst one another and decide. Kim, I know you had a question.
I did. I actually have a question for Captain Tyler. Last weekend, I monitored the CHP incident log, and I heard all kinds of craziness going on. Hundreds, somebody even said thousands of one-point cars parked on the 15. What exactly are you going to do to prevent that from happening? I heard people walking dogs, children running across traffic lanes. What exactly is the plan for that?
This weekend, we're going to have additional officers out on patrol, roving, to prevent folks from stopping. So, as stated earlier, everyone was overwhelmed, and what typically happens is once one car stops on the freeway, then the next car stops, and then it's a chain reaction. So, having the extra officers out there so that folks are just, if they decide to stop, there'll be an officer there to let them know, hey, you cannot stop here, you need to keep moving. Caltrans has also posted signs along the shoulders, north and south of the lake, indicating no parking. So we'll just have additional officers out there this weekend to keep those folks from moving. Additionally, lake will be closed. So last weekend, the lake was open, and folks would exit the lake, and then it would create a backup. They're sitting and waiting, and then it would lead to, okay, well, let's just park on the shoulder. So what will be different this weekend is the additional personnel and officers out there.
And we'll have signage up, like a lit sign, something to indicate that further back? So
Yes. There will be additional, several changeable message board signs north and south of this area, so people will have plenty of warning and where to go, where to exit, and what's closed. Thank you.
In the back there? I think, sir, did you have a question? Any of you back there? No? Kim again?
I do. Actually, I don't know if you are the best person to address this or if Mayor Manos is. Busing is not free. We're charging $10 a person to ride these buses, but is that going to have a negative impact on city finances? Do you see any predictions for that?
At this point, I probably could speak on behalf of all these agencies. This isn't something that was prepared for. This is an event that we've budgeted for. There's a lot of expenses associated with it. So at this point, we expect to have a loss at the city of Lake Elsinore. The shuttle costs will really basically cover the shuttle. It's expensive to run those all day as well. So yeah, at this time, we do not expect to have a way to.
I'm going to add something to that. So the goal that we have with respect to the cost recovery is we increase the cost for the shuttles, and that should cover the shuttles as well as some of the portable restrooms. It does not cover the increased costs for staff or for law enforcement. In talking to our finance department, which I don't think Nicole's had the opportunity to do so, the increased economic activity may end up actually flushing that out so we can break even. So it may end up being a break-even item, maybe even a little something, but that's the goal. That's the reason why we're changing the fares for the buses. We see the demand there. We know that there's a value to that, and we believe we can go ahead and do an actual cost recovery, whereas last weekend that didn't happen. Okay.
What large public events have you drawn on their experiences to make the changes for this weekend?
Anyone want to share?
We didn't draw on any public event. We looked at the roads and how they are designed, and we had to plan in accordance. Last weekend, we didn't shut down the off-ramps, which caused traffic backup on the 15. Last weekend, we didn't shut down Walker Canyon. It was co-mingled with vehicular and pedestrian traffic. So that created an issue. So you have everybody, 250 vehicles trying to park down Walker Canyon. Then you had people entering Walker Canyon who were waiting for someone to leave. So that created additional backup from the traffic. So when we look at it, the challenges we have is there's only 2 avenues of ingress and egress into the area, Walker Canyon. And that's going to be the I-15, and that's going to be Lake Street. So we want to minimize that traffic so we can prevent people from stopping on the freeway and backing up, and keep motorists and visitors moving through the north end of the city.
Yes, Kim?
One more. The Lake Elsinore Storm event, is that this coming weekend or is that last weekend? That's this weekend. So are any plans to make accommodations for that?
The storm,
Because
party in the park.
Oh, are you talking about Party in the Park for Storm Baseball? No, we wouldn't expect it to create that much of a crowd, that event. So we haven't really expressed any concerns in that regard. So again, I just want to encourage our residents that if you live here, you know a lot of the side roads. Take any and every side road you can around the city. Obviously, the main arteries are going to be more congested. We have to remember that visitors are coming here, they may be relying on Google or Waze, other apps that allow them to traverse here, but they're not familiar with the city like you are. And so if you can, try to choose alternatives, try to use Grand Avenue as much as possible if you're heading north, or southbound, I'm sorry, and try and stay away from Central Avenue, Lake Street, Nichols Road. I think actually the largest we had last weekend was 56. We're continuing to work on what shuttles we'll have this weekend. Spring break has started. There's quite a few events occurring all around, and that's partially driven some of our crowds here. So we're still confirming what different size shuttles and buses we'll have this weekend. Any other questions?
You said 3 and under are free?
3 and under are free. Basically, they're able to sit on the laps, so they don't need a seat. And again, I just remind everybody about dogs or animals. Please try to not bring those along with you. It's a request of the shuttle companies.
What about service animals?
What would you like to say? I'm sorry, I don't know. Service animals, we can make exceptions for. Thank you. Thank you so much.